And by the time I got to like the main barbecue portion, I looked down at my plate. I had no room left, and there was like chicken, there was the ribs, there was like the made to order steak, and I was like, I don't want this burger anymore. Like I don't know what I severely made a mistake.
Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of the DCL Duo Podcast, brought to you by My Path Unwinding Travel. And Sam, listener review time, as always. This week's review comes from a year ago. Seems like every time we catch up, we get back to a year. So a year ago from WRD Inc., which I believe might be Wesley Ryan Davenport, who we have had, I think we've had on the show a couple times, or maybe at least once. I think we just recorded with him. And he writes, the quintessential Disney Cruise Line podcast. The breadth and depth of knowledge and insights put forth by Ryan and Sam on all things Disney Cruise Line consistently ensure this podcast series is a pre-embarkation must-listen. Whether you're an experienced cruiser or a novice thinking of dipping your toes into the waters of sailing for the first time, you will find each episode elegantly constructed with relevant subject matter, topic stories, and how-tos, along with pro tips and tricks, all expertly shared with the participation of guests whose background and exposure help parse the nuanced subtleties of planning and enjoying your life at sea. In short, there is no way to better prepare or educate for a Disney cruise than spending time immersed in the facts and anecdotes of the DCL Duo podcast.
Oh my God.
Wesley, if that is you, which I am pretty sure it is, I got to give you the award for most eloquent review left for this show. Like,
I was gonna say,
what a review.
I was gonna say that. I was like, wow, that's like super beautifully written. Like, I mean, the sentiment is great, but it's also just like written really, really well. So,
yes. But thank you for that review. For all of you out there, as always, if you want to help support the show, one of the easiest ways to do it is head over to Apple Podcasts, hit those 5 stars in the app, and if you leave us a written review, we will read it on the air at the top of one of our main episodes when we put them out each week. So
and don't forget, we're also over on YouTube. So don't forget to subscribe over on YouTube and like all the episodes you can.
Yeah, we do actually now. We were trying to put all of our episodes out on YouTube. So if you want to really connect with our guests and see the behind the scenes of us grubby on Saturday mornings recording podcasts, you can head over there and check those out. But Sam, we got a fun guest tonight and a fun topic because I just want to say it feels like it has been Disney treasure all the time around here for the past several months, like all Disney treasure all the time. And we haven't had as many first-time cruisers. We've had a lot of people who've experienced a Disney treasure for the first time. But today, I'm just going to take over. Today, I want to introduce Kyle, who is a first-time Disney cruiser and also experienced his first time Marvel Day at Sea, which is something even Sam and I still have not been able to experience. So I want to welcome Kyle to the show. Welcome, Kyle.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
We're so excited to have you, Kyle. Now, we know as Brian gave in the spoiler, this is a first-time cruiser show, but we want to know about your love of Disney, where that comes from. Have you always been a Disney fan? And, tell us a little bit about you and, why you decided to even book a Disney cruise.
Yeah, so for Disney background, I've been going to Disney since, I was a young child, I guess you could say. And I guess maybe it was 5 years old, like my first trip to the parks. And I guess it was really memorable for me because back in the day, Hollywood Studios was called MGM Studios.
Yes.
And back in the day in MGM Studios, there was a Power Rangers meet and greet. And I loved the Power Rangers when I was super young. So I guess that's why it's a very memorable trip for me. But,
this must have been like the early or mid 90s then, if it was Power Rangers.
Yeah, all right, like those early 2000s, but yeah.
Oh gosh, you're a baby. You're a baby, Kyle.
No, not that old. But yeah. So that was like my first trip, and then about 10 years after that, we did our first Disney bubble vacation. So we stayed on property at Disney World. We did the dining plan. And then ever since then, my family got hooked. We did Disney almost every other year. And then once COVID hit with all that revenge travel, we've been doing it every year. And, ever since then, we've been to, Walt Disney World, stayed at multiple resorts. That's another thing that I hope to do one time, eventually get to every resort in Walt Disney World. We've been to Disneyland resort in California. We've been to Aulani. We stayed at Vero Beach in Florida. And then we've also been to Tokyo Disneyland. So lots of
you're all in. Yeah, you're like all in. Now, are you guys
let me ask Kyle, where are you coming to us from? Are you on the West Coast or are you on the East Coast?
I'm on the East Coast, so I'm in New Jersey.
New Jersey. Okay. All right. Wow. Like we get a lot of people from the East Coast who never make it as far out as Aulani or Disneyland. So it's great to hear that you've experienced those because they are, I think, Disneyland's our favorite park, hands down. And Aulani is one of the best Disney resorts I've ever seen. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you guys DVC owners as well?
Yeah. So my parents are DVC owners. It's actually funny because I think when we did our first Disney bubble vacation, it was in 2013. And I remember vividly a year before when I was like 12 years old, I saw one of those ads on TV and I was like trying to get my dad to, do DVC. And then he said no. And then a year after when we did our Disney bubble vacation, he was like, okay, I can see why.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we're all in on DVC ourselves. And, this isn't a DVC show, but I would say for people who are frequent parks goers, meaning if you're going to the parks even every other year. If you're going less than that, then it probably DVC isn't for you. But if you're going consistently every other year, and certainly if you're going consistently every year, it is actually a good investment if you're an on-property person. Obviously, there are folks who love to stay at places off-property, but if you're a Disney bubble person like we are, then yeah, DVC is definitely a good benefit. Well, let's talk about why you decided to try a Disney cruise for the first time, because obviously it's a different vacation than a parks vacation. And if you're a parks goer, it doesn't necessarily mean you'll be a cruise person. So what made you, had you ever been on a cruise on a different cruise line?
So no, actually. So like growing up, like I have motion sickness. My parents have motion sickness. It's really my brothers that really don't. But because of that, there was never really like we need to do a cruise type mentality in my family. But and even up till now, I guess you could say I never really thought of, me enjoying a cruise as much as I ended up doing, which we'll talk about obviously. But and that's also just a thing going into this cruise. Like there was such a big fear of motion sickness that I guess we can talk about later. But basically why I ended up with this sailing and why I ended up choosing Disney Cruise Line was because back in 2023, I was going to take my first Disney World trip with friends, without family. And then doing research for that trip, was in the 2022. I was watching a bunch of vloggers on YouTube preparing for that trip. But then in 2022, Disney Cruise Line had like a big thing, which was the Wish came out for the first new ship in a very long time. And then these same vloggers that I was watching started making stuff about the Wish. And then I just got absolutely captivated by it. The atrium, the restaurant, specifically the Marvel restaurant. I just, I was like, wow, this is really, really cool. Maybe I should try it, see if it'll be okay, because I do like Disney, might as well like put another Disney thing under my belt. But so then tried to get my family to go on a Disney cruise, but then there was still a lot of hesitation with that. But then eventually it came to the point where I was like, if I'm gonna do this, I want to go like all out. So I wanted to do like a something that doesn't happen as often. And that's how I landed on doing a Marvel Day at Sea cruise. So that's how I ended up, doing research between the ships and then finding out, Disney Dream has the Marvel Day at Sea. Also spoiled myself a little bit by watching Marvel Day at Sea vlogs. And that just got me absolutely hooked that I had to do a Marvel Day at Sea cruise.
Were you a big Marvel fan coming into this? I mean, you watched all the shows and movies and stuff, or yes? Okay.
We can talk about like my failure doing, one of the trivia things, but
that Marvel trivia is no joke. Yeah, that is some of the toughest trivia I've ever seen. So because it's not just geared toward like the Disney content; it's geared toward the comic books too. And so like I love all the Marvel movies and TV shows, but I have never I've toyed around with going back and reading some of the comic books because I do find them really interesting. But if you haven't been following it since the beginning, it's tough.
Yeah. Well, and you have to, I feel like some of the shows, in particular, some of the TV shows, there's just so much out there, right? Between, especially with like all those new series that were on Netflix that are now coming over to Disney. And so, you got to watch a ton of stuff and probably watch all that stuff multiple times to like really know all the character names and all that stuff. But definitely think it makes sense that you booked a Marvel Day at Sea. If you're, if you're a Marvel fan, I would say probably Marvel Day at Sea. If you can get one, that's what you should book. And then second to that is going to be obviously the Disney Destiny for Marvel fans. Not to say that Marvel fans won't enjoy being on the Wish or the Treasure, because they have, at least the dining room worlds of Marvel. And on all the ships, you might get some Marvel character meet and greets, but not like you'll get on a Marvel Day at Sea, and probably not like we're going to see on the Destiny. At least that's my prediction, given the theming of the ship, is there's going to be more Marvel characters out and about than there are on the other ships. But let's dive in then, Kyle. I want to talk about this motion sickness thing, because as someone myself who has always suffered from motion sickness, particularly car sickness, I still, even today, if I'm sitting in a car for more than like 5 or 10 minutes, I cannot be like scrolling on my phone. I can't be reading while I'm in the car. I get super motion sick. And so I tell people all the time, I cruise. Yes, I suffer from motion sickness, and I don't typically have issues on the ship. That's not to say I haven't ever. I have when we've had rough seas, and there have been times where I have, at least one time where I needed to use a patch, the prescription patch, because it was really rough seas in the Bahamas. What did you, who went with you on this cruise? Did your whole family come, including all the, fellow motion sickies like you? And what kinds of things did you think about or plan for, knowing you were going on a sailing and knowing that you have or get motion sick?
Yeah. So for this sailing, I was actually with one of my friends. He's the one that sailed with me, because I was trying to, push my family to go, and they're, really resistant still. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do this myself, and I'm gonna be able to just experience this.
That's the way to go, right? You test it, and then you explain to them how great it is, and they'll come around.
Yes.
Tell you, get them to start watching the vlogs or listening to our show, or plenty of content out there to convince people to get on a Disney cruise.
Nothing sells a Disney cruise like going on a Disney cruise.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But then I think being like a family member or close friend, you are the sort of actually the best salesperson to your own family and friends. So.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, I've heard people say like, yeah, it's not bad. Like, yes, I have motion sickness, but I didn't have any problems on this cruise. And at the end of the day, it's still like, okay, but unless I do it myself. But no, so my friend also has like motion sickness, and he was also worried. So like we were talking about it, and we are like, okay, what are we going to do to prepare for this? So like I brought almost everything that I could think of. Like I brought C-bands, I brought, motion sickness medicine, I brought like a bunch of like mints, and then like mint gum, because like, in Disney World, whenever I ride a ride and I can feel it a little bit, I usually just, have some mint gum, and then usually it'll just go away. So I brought all these things for the cruise out of fear of motion sickness. And I ended up not using any of them until after the cruise. It was more of after where I ended up having like, those sea legs. But other than that, it was like, I was perfectly fine.
That's great. I mean, first of all, smart to over prep, right? Like it's better to have more stuff and then not need hits than to be like on the ship and then really need something. It's easier if you can head off the motion sickness like before it happens. So if for example, there's going to be rough seas, take that Bo9 or put on that patch ahead of time, carry around that gum with you. Ginger sucking candies are also great for motion sickness, but I totally understand sometimes, because for rides like Guardians, Cosmic Rewind, that ride, I am okay like on the ride. As soon as I get off, I'm like super nauseous. And so that's why I always I tell people like Brian and Nathan can literally do that ride twice back to back. I'm a one and done. I can do that ride once, and then I need to like walk around, like maybe get a coffee. So totally understand that situation. I'd love to know, how many nights was this cruise, and where was it headed to? I mean, obviously it was a dream, so it's out of Fort Lauderdale, but tell us what the itinerary was.
Yeah, so it was a 5-night sailing. So embarkation day, and then the first sea day was the Marvel Day at Sea. And then after that was Cozumel, and then also Pirate Night, and then Day at Sea, and then on the last day was Castaway.
Nice. All right. Well, I think we should talk about the ports first and then talk about Marvel Day at Sea, because Marvel Day at Sea is the obviously a huge highlight, and I want to save that best part, not for last, but for like sort of the middle of the show, the meat of the show. So let's talk about actually, you know what? We didn't talk about embarking. I totally skipped that. All right. So you are traveling from New Jersey down to Florida for your cruise out of Port Everglades. Tell us, like, when did you get into Port Everglades? I assume you flew far enough.
Yeah. So we flew in the day before, but we actually flew into West Palm Beach the day before because we just wanted to meet up with people, spend the evening there, spend the morning there, and then drive down. It's only about like 45 to 15-minute drive, so it wasn't that bad. And there's also no traffic at all, so that was just perfect. But it was just really interesting because we encountered something that I've never encountered before, where we like boarded the plane without a captain, which was strange. So
That's
we, like,
very
got on the
strange.
plane, and then they made an announcement that the captain has to come from another terminal. So we were like, oh, so then we ended up delayed an hour.
I've had that happen before, because if they want to get they're trying to get the plane fully ready so the pilot can just walk on, do the checks, and get out. And so if they wait to board until the captain's there, then getting like
then you're even more
an hour.
delayed.
So yeah, I've had that happen before. It is a bit strange when you walk on a plane, the cockpit's empty, but yeah.
Yeah, that is weird. That is weird. Well, at least it's only an hour late. That's not too bad. So did you guys stay in Palm Beach, or did you stay then in down in Fort Lauderdale?
Yeah, so we left on Saturday, like the ship left on Saturday. So we flew in Friday night, and then we stayed in the West Palm Beach area that night. And then Saturday morning is when we drove down. Our port arrival was 12:30, I think. Yeah, it was like 12:30. And then we left the West Palm Beach area around like 11:15, just to, have like a little leeway.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to the parking garage exactly at 12:30. So
perfect. Yeah. Now, I feel like the Port Everglades terminal is really, especially now that Disney has its own terminal there, like a well-oiled machine, like as good as Port Canaveral. I wonder, did you have any impression of how things were running? Did it seem organized, and was it quick once you got all parked? Like, was it quick to go through the security and the check-in process?
Yeah, no, if I could like sum it up in one word, I would say it was really fast. Very fast. And it was very unexpected because, since we're first time cruisers, I expected us to, have to go through check-in for a while, and then security, and then actually have to wait for our boarding group to be called and all that stuff. But when I was like reviewing my pictures, I think we were in the deck like 12:30, and then we were on the ship by 1. So it was incredibly quick and surprisingly quick too.
Yeah. If there, if customs clears the ship quickly from, obviously from the previous cruise, then it really can be at both Port Canaveral and Port Everglades, just such a well-oiled machine, and getting people checked in, and especially when people come at their port arrival times and don't come earlier, right? Like if you come earlier, not always, but you may have, a longer wait time, because obviously you might not be able to get sort of checked in early. So it just depends, who's sort of running operations that day, I will say. All right, well, tell us about boarding the ship. Obviously, you are someone who watches vlogs and listens to our podcast, right? So you knew what was coming when you boarded the ship. You knew you were going to be announced into the beautiful atrium of the Disney Dream. What was that like?
Yeah, so I was like, the way I explained it, I was like, no pun intended, but it was like living a fever dream because I've been like looking forward to this, Marvel Day at Sea and going on a Disney cruise for so long. And, we get there, they announce our names. We just like did our first names. And then, we get through, and then, the Donald statue's there, the Donald statue that I've seen in so many pictures, so many vlogs all over social media. And then I see like the Marvel Day at Sea backdrop for the first time. And I'm like, okay, this is actually happening. This is, we're here. This is happening. And then, I just look up and there's like Pluto's meeting on like deck 5. And then there's another character on deck 4. And I'm just like, what is going, like, I don't know what to do. Like I've heard so many things of like what to do on your first day. If you need to change something, you can go change something. If, you want to do dining, then you got to go to, I think it's Royal Palace does the sit down lunch on that day, on, embarkation day. And I'm like, okay, what do we do? Like, I felt so like overwhelmed because I was like, I don't know what to do. And then I vividly remember telling my friend, I was like, okay, let's just go to Cabanas, let's get lunch, because it was already 1 o'clock and we're kind of hungry. So we get up there, and I said Cabanas because I wanted it to be quick so that we could like, go do stuff. But then when we sat down in like the little outdoor area. We sit down, and I was kind of just like, I just sat down and was like, I'm really overwhelmed right now. Like, I just need to sit down and just take it all in. So we ended up like at Cabanas for like an hour-ish because I just needed to compose what was happening.
Oh, you're making me smile from ear to ear right now, Kyle. And I wish people could see the smile on your face if you're not watching this on YouTube. Like seeing your reaction, it's like a kid in the candy store kind of reaction, right? And it can be like overwhelming, and it's also a little bit chaotic that first day. I know for us, like Brian always feels like even though he's of course happy to walk onto a Disney ship,
you
feel
keep saying this, and like I don't feel overwhelmed.
Not overwhelmed.
I do feel more comfortable once we've unpacked.
Right.
Like,
I'm not saying overwhelmed. I was about to say that you always feel like you're not like in vacation mode until you're like unpacked and things are settled, right? And like that first day is very chaotic. And so, yeah, and I will say that's why we often opt for the sit down lunch, even though it does mean it's going to take longer and you're not going to necessarily get started running around.
I'm going to give a tip to first time cruisers, because the thing that hooked me on Disney Cruise Line beyond sort of when people clapped when I came in was that we had a friend who just basically, like, for our first time at Disney Cruise, I think we did get lunch at Cabanas. I can't remember if it was before or after. I think it was after, when things had calmed down, but he just basically took us up to the top deck and started like walking us all over the ship and just like showing us highlights. And I don't think you need an experienced cruiser to do that so much as I would just say, like, just go up to the top deck, just start walking around, like go down a deck, walk around, like just see where everything is and get a sense for all the things that you can explore and do. And then head up to Cabanas, grab your chicken fingers, and start making lists of stuff that you want to do. So yeah, I think it's great if you're a first time cruiser, just get the lay of the land, understand the ship, and how it feels and where things are and all that sort of stuff. I think it's a great way to spend your kind of first couple hours on your first Disney cruise. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, it can be overwhelming because there's a lot of stuff going on, and there's a lot of chaos because a lot of people don't know like where they're going and where, and obviously your rooms aren't ready. So you're still carrying around like your backpack, at least for, if you're getting on at 1 o'clock, at least for another half hour until rooms are typically ready. For those who haven't heard us talk about this before, typically ready around 1:30, but that can be a little bit later if they're a little bit behind schedule. All right. Well, Kyle, you guys, you hang out a little bit at Cabanas, you get some food in you. I want to jump to Sail Away. Did you go to the Sail Away party?
Yes, of course. We went to the sailor party, something that I've also seen, spoiled myself. But like, yeah, no. So like at the muster drill, I was telling my friend, I was like, we have to book it up to deck 12. Like we're going to go up, like, I think our muster was on deck 4. So like, what is that? I'm trying to do math right now in my head, like 8
8
4,
decks,
right?
Yeah.
So I was like, we're gonna have to book it up 8 flights of steps because we got to get there. And he was like, all right, I'll just follow you. So then, immediately after the muster drill ends, we book it up there. I was like, we got to get a good spot. So we got a pretty good spot. I think we had a pretty good spot. And then, we get up there, and then the song starts playing, and I just had like I could feel it that I just had the biggest uncontrollable smile on my face because I've heard this so many times in vlogs and stuff like that. And then even like my friend, he was like, because I told him, I was like, oh, yeah, I got to go up and hear the horns. Like, we have to go hear the horns. And he was like, why? What's up with the horns? And I was like, okay, you'll see.
They're special.
And then I think, yeah, but I don't know. It's just Mickey like doing a little countdown for your vacation to start, and then then you hear like the dream horn. It makes you just feel like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just a feeling that, gosh, like I said, it's just like it was like living a fever dream basically, because I just was so exciting.
Oh, I love that. And it is for those who haven't done a sail away party, they do usually do a countdown like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you hear just the When You Wish Upon a Star horn, right? And that's on all of the ships. There's the When You Wish Upon a Star. That's the sort of the kickoff. I mean, you'll hear that horn other times, usually when you're leaving port or at noon. But some of the ships have multiple different songs. The Dream is one of those ships. The Magic and the Wonder only have the sort of the original, but it is really like a nice, I don't know, there's something special about hearing the horn for the first time and it being as a part of your sail away party. Well, Kyle. No, sorry, go ahead.
I just want to add, like, I was joking with my friend how, like, I was like, don't, like, judge me if I, like, shed a tear when I hear the horn, because I've been looking forward to this moment.
Oh, I love that. For me, that's when I feel like the cruise has really, begun. It's they sort of all the excitement, all the buildup, and you're like, my vacation has started. I love that. Yeah. Well, let's jump to talking about the ports, and then we'll jump, of course, back onto the ship to talk about all the things Marvel Day at Sea and all the other things you guys got up to. You said you went to Cozumel and Castaway. I'm curious whether you booked any excursions for Cozumel. We'll start there.
Yeah, so in Cozumel, we did book an excursion, but then we ended up canceling it, and that was only because it was the chocolate and like Mayan excursion beach one, but then because it was like really, really like long, I was like, I kind of want more freedom to just explore the port and explore the island, ourselves, which is what we ended up doing. And at the end of the day, like if I was going to Mexico for the first time, the only things that I wanted to do was get tacos and then get some like guac. So that's all I wanted to do. That's what we ended up doing. So I felt fulfilled.
You're speaking Brian's love language. Brian's love language is street tacos. And I will say both of our love languages, guacamole, chips and guacamole, chips and salsa. Nathan's a salsa person. Brian and I are both salsa and guacamole people. Love it. I think that's a great way of doing it, especially if you're adults only. And you don't need to sort of worry so much about transportation. And, it's easy to explore some of these ports on your own, at least the ones where there is something sort of close by and you just want to kind of walk around. Well, let's talk about Castaway, because obviously Castaway is always a huge highlight for people, whether you've been there a million times or it's your very first time. And we always tell people you don't have to book anything at Castaway. You can just have like a wonderful, relaxing day. But there are some things that people do often like to book. We like to book parasailing. Other people love to do the Stingray adventure. The snorkel you can book ahead of time. You could also just book it when you're there. And same with like bike rentals and tube rentals. Although it's cheaper if you book it as a package ahead of time. Did you guys book anything in advance for Castaway? And if so, what?
So Castaway Day, we didn't really book anything in advance. We were just, really looking forward to going to Serenity Bay and just enjoying the beach and the water. And our Castaway Day was like perfect. I was making the joke like perfect day at Coco Cay, more like perfect day at Castaway Cay, because our Castaway Day was like, perfect. I think I've heard so many things about like, like if it's too windy, you're not docking at Castaway. If the weather's not perfect, you're not docking at Castaway. And, I went into the cruise with that mindset. Like I'm not going to let not going to Castaway ruin the vacation basically. But, when we woke up that day, we had a veranda, so and on the starboard side too, which was completely not planned at all. I didn't know that was a thing that people do so that they can see pulling into Castaway. But we woke up that morning and I was like, oh wow, it's really, really nice outside, to the point where I think when we were in Serenity Bay, I've heard so many things of people are on the beach and you can see the impending storm cloud that's about to make you run back to the ship. We were there and the cloud, the skies were clear, and we're like, that's it was just perfect.
Wow.
I will say the one thing you never want to hear on Castaway Cay is the ship's horn, because that means they're closing the island down. But yeah, it sounds like you had an awesome day. How'd you find the food on Castaway?
Oh, the food on Castaway was so good, especially it's Serenity Bay. I was just I guess I was just so excited. I just started grabbing things the potato salad, and I don't know why I got excited that they put stuff on like the buns for burgers. Like, they already put like the lettuce, tomato, and onions and all stuff. I got so excited. I was like, oh, I'm going to get one of these and I'm going to get a burger. And by the time like, I got to like the main barbecue portion, I looked down at my plate. I had no room left. And there was like chicken, there was the ribs, there was like the made to order steak. And I was like, I don't want this burger anymore. Like, I don't know. I severely made a mistake.
On board. Yeah.
It's like,
It's so funny though. I actually usually get a burger at Castaway, but I also save room for ribs because I like the Castaway ribs. And I just am a burger person. I can eat a burger like anytime. But what did you think of the beach? I will tell you, it's been a while since Brian and I have been to Serenity Bay Beach because with Nathan, obviously we can't spend our time at Serenity Bay. And we've heard from a lot of folks that still, since I think it was like Hurricane Irma, it's still pretty shallow, I guess is the way I want to use it, meaning it's like this, there's like a steep incline of the beach, and the beach is not very long, meaning you're like there's sand and then the water's like right there. Did you, one, is that how you found it? And two, did that bother you? If so?
Yeah, that's how it was. I didn't really think much of it, to be honest, though I didn't know it was any different than how I guess it used to be. But the chairs were, on like a really steep incline, but you were supposed to, take them out and pull them out so that you can, but unfortunately, like the way the shade was, it was like the shade was on that like incline portion. So then, but besides that, the water was really shallow, and it was like surprisingly shallow. And like the way there's like no waves or anything, I was like, okay, Aulani has wave breakers, but there were still waves. So I'm really confused how they got it that way. It was like, yeah.
It's so calm at Castaway. And I mean, and it's a good thing and a bad thing, right? At the same time, right? You're not going to have to worry at Castaway about being a strong swimmer or being like taken out to sea, typically. It's just really, really calm. But sometimes you get really, really low tide and you have like no water. So it can be a plus, and a minus. And sometimes it's nice to have a little bit of a wave going on. So yeah, it's sort of a double-edged sword. But it sounds like you had such a calm day too, without really any wind. I will say, we're recording this the end of March 2025, in case that's not obvious. And the last we've heard from both the sailing that is literally docking this morning, or just docked this morning at Port Canaveral, and the sailing prior, we had friends on both of those sailings, and both of them made it to Castaway, but it took them multiple attempts to actually dock at Castaway because there were such heavy winds, and all of the excursions, all of the sort of boating excursions got canceled even before they docked at Castaway because the winds were so strong. So it is something to think about for folks. Like, we warn people, we try to remind people that if your cruise is going to Castaway or any port, frankly, there's not a guarantee that you dock because weather is out of control or at least, I mean, Disney might control almost everything, but weather is one of the rare things they don't control in the universe. So, well, let's jump back on to the ship to talk about what you guys got up to on board. I'd love to hear from you, Kyle, what the offerings were at Marvel Day at Sea and what kinds of, which ones you got to actually do. Because obviously there's so much packed into really one crazy day.
Yeah, so that is true. Like, I knew the Marvel Day 2 was going to be one day, but it was like so like crazy and jam-packed. It was, I was like, wow, this is a lot. I think one of your previous guests called it like a super Marvel marathon. And I was like, yeah, that's what it felt like. It felt like just a Marvel marathon. And at the point, and then we'll talk about the deck show, but like, it just felt like I was in a Marvel movie. But yeah, no, there was a lot of stuff that happened that day. I guess I could just run through that entire day.
Yeah, I would love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the day we woke up, okay, I'm just going to add this little caveat. So because of the, me fearing that this cruise might be a one and done because of motion sickness, I kind of wanted to go all out and then book Apollo brunch, which we ended up getting, but it was only offered on the Marvel Day at Sea, unfortunately.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So there's like a little break in, the Marvel stuff, for Apollo brunch.
I
But
mean,
yeah.
listen, that's never a mistake. Going to Apollo brunch is never going to be a mistake. But obviously that like does take up a big chunk of your Marvel Day at Sea, and you've got, as you mentioned, it's a marathon kind of a day. So yeah, tell us how the day started.
Yeah, so when I woke up, I heard so many things about the music that they play on board. So I woke up and I had to go outside and listen to what was happening. And yeah, you go outside in the hallways and they're just blasting Marvel music. Like it's already like from the get-go, they're blasting Marvel music, whether it be like from the Iron Man movies, the Avengers movies, whatever, they're just blasting Marvel music, which was really, really cool. All throughout the day, they were playing all kinds of Marvel. I guess like during the day when the kids are like mainly out on the pool deck, they were playing like those kid Marvel shows on the Funnel Vision. They had like Marvel movies playing on the Funnel Vision. They had Marvel movies playing in the theaters all day. There were Marvel decorations everywhere. There was like a Thanos poster near the pool deck, which was just cool. And I was like, is Thanos gonna be here later? But that was, that was pretty cool. And then just like meet and greets in general, they had your standard meet and greets where like, it's on the app. You had to go wait in line. Then there was like the pre-booked meet and greets, which we did have to book beforehand. So we had to book. There were like 3 different ones. There was like Marvel HQ, as Guardians, and then the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so like that, I think those come out the same time Royal Gathering comes out.
Yeah, so 30
like
days before. Yeah, so it's for Royal Gathering and for those character meet and greets for special cruises like Marvel Day at Sea or Pixar Day at Sea or what they used to do with Star Wars Day at Sea. It's at 30 days at midnight, so 30 days before your cruise. Everyone gets access at the same time. This is not a situation where if you're Pearl or a concierge where you get sort of early access, although concierge might be able to request it through shoreside. So that may be the one exception, but it's not everybody gets access on the app at the same time. So at 30 days at midnight, and it's usually when first time cruisers are also trying to check in for the cruise to get their port arrival time. So yeah, you can book those through the app. They are free, but they are ticketed events. So you have to have essentially a reservation. It is possible that additional spots open up on board, but not guaranteed. I would say for the Royal Gathering, for Princess Meet and Greets, is pretty typical that you can be able to get a spot on board. But I don't think for Marvel Day at Sea that's true because it really is one day versus Royal Gathering will probably happen multiple times across a cruise. So now, were you able to book these? How many were you? You said there were 3 different ones or 3 variety of these. Were you able to book all of them at that 30-day mark?
Yeah, so I did book all 3 of them, and actually, I guess I can give this little tip. You actually don't have to do them all on Marvel Day at Sea. They actually do offer it on the other days, which I found out later. So I booked all 3 on Marvel Day at Sea, and then we had like such a packed schedule because with Apollo brunch like sticking out there in the middle, it was like so much. But then I found out they do offer it on other days. So I was like, okay, what if I just cancel it here and then move it to this day, which help alleviate a lot of the tightness in the schedule. But yeah, we ended up getting all 3 of them. So like that morning we had the HQ one and then the Guardians one. So the HQ was Spider-Man and Iron Man. And that was really, really cool. I mean, I don't think I've ever done an Iron Man meet and greet before. Like I've been to Disneyland. I know he meet and greets there, but I don't think I've ever like seen him. So that was really, really cool. And
the ones at Disneyland, the meet and greets, so Spider-Man, those are in the app, but the other meet and greets over by the what is it, the twin jet thing, those ones, they don't necessarily advertise what time which character is going to be there, so it's kind of more random, and so you can't plan like, yes, we've seen Iron Man there, but we also have not ever done a meet and greet with him because it's like there's usually like a really long line by the time we see that somebody's there that we might want to meet. So yeah, so you see the 2 of them together. Then what was the next one you got?
So the next one was the Guardians of the Galaxy. So this one I've heard it could be like a combination between Star-Lord, Gamora, or Groot. And I just really wanted to meet Groot. I know it's just a dude in a costume, but I just thought it was really, really cool to see like a big, just a really big tree. And of course, all he says is, I am Groot. And the fact that, you get to shake Groot's hand, which is just, I was beside myself. It was really, really cool.
Yeah. His branch, you mean? He doesn't have any. He's a branch.
I know we've told this story on the show before, but this reminds me of Star Wars Day at Sea and our son meeting Chewbacca for the first time. And he was just like, he fully believed that both Chewbacca and R2-D2 were like real, like were real, because there was no way that anyone could fit into a costume of R2-D2, and no one is as tall as Chewbacca, and his eyes were blinking, and it was immersive. It felt like, it was really cool to see. We have somewhere a picture of Chewbacca hugging him, and it's he's just engulfed in fur and you can barely see him. So,
I love that picture of Nathan. It just makes me smile. Yeah, I have that one on my phone for sure. All right, so who did you get? Did you get Groot?
Yes, so we did get Groot, and then we got Gamora.
Nice.
So that was, Gamora is really, really serious, which was fine. I just was hoping, if we get Star-Lord, he's going to, make a lot of jokes and stuff.
Yes.
But Gamora was cool too.
Yeah. Well, and the good thing about getting Gamora is with the makeup and stuff, I feel like the character looks more like Gamora. With Star-Lord, you can get a little bit hit and miss. It's like with some of the face characters are really good, and some of them just don't match as well as the others. So I tend to think that the ones that are more sort of costumed or more makeup kind of, you tend to get a better match in that sense.
Are you listening to our show because you want to make the most out of your next vacation? Great news, the fabulous team over at My Path Unwinding Travel can help guide you so you don't miss a thing. Their team of professional travel advisors are caring, knowledgeable, and experienced. It's why we use them to book our own travel. My Path Unwinding Travel is an authorized Disney vacation planner, which means they are recognized by Disney for their expertise and service. They have sailed on all the Disney ships, including in concierge, visited the theme parks, adventured with Disney, relaxed at Aulani, and so much more. Whether it's a Disney cruise, a theme park vacation, or Adventures by Disney, or if you are looking to expand beyond the mouse, My Path Unwinding Travel will elevate your next vacation planning experience. Even if you have already booked, reach out for a complimentary consultation to make your vacation even more magical. Ready to talk to the experts? Head over to mypathunwinding.com/DCL Duo or email dclduo@mypathunwinding.com so they know we sent you their way. Thanks, My Path Unwinding, for sponsoring today's show. Now back to the episode.
Okay, so two great meet and greets. What was your next thing that you guys did? Did you have to then break to go to Palo? And I got to ask you, what were you wearing on Marvel Day at Sea?
Yeah, so I started off, I had like two different outfits that I ended up wearing. I started off with a Deadpool shirt because I was kind of hoping Deadpool would be on the ship since, the new, movie just came out. And I was like, okay, maybe, he'll be there. Unfortunately, he wasn't. So that's whatever, I guess. But it was still, I was hoping. And then in my afternoon, I just had a bunch of Avengers Campus gear that I was wearing, like from a sweater to a shirt. And I kind of regret not dressing up. I thought about it, like cosplaying. And I guess I can also talk about this little costume event that they had later. But yeah, it was a little bit of regret not, dressing up, like fully dressing up. But yeah, so I guess things that we also did, I guess I could also include, there was so much character roaming that it was a little overwhelming because being a Disney World person, we don't really get character roaming that much. Disneyland, there is more character roaming, but this was like character roaming on like a whole other level. I think at one point, I like to tell this story where I think I was on deck 4 near Shutters, and like Ms. Marvel and Captain America Sam Wilson were there and drawing like a gigantic crowd. And then I was like, oh, I cannot get through here. And then out of nowhere, Kate Bishop rounds the corner, looks in my direction and goes, yeah, I'm not getting involved with that. And then walks out onto the promenade and leaves. And I'm just like, should I have taken a picture? Like, what just happened?
What just happened?
Yeah, I was just so shocked that I couldn't get my phone out in time to get a picture. Yeah, that was really, really cool. And then I think my favorite character roaming story was like during the baby race. So they had the baby race. It was like a Marvel themed baby race. So like the map was
so it wasn't Jack
Marvel.
Jack.
Yeah, it wasn't Jack Jack. It was it had like, who was there? I think it was like Black Panther, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Hulk, that's what was lined up on the lanes. And it was supposed to be. And then it's really, really funny too, where I think 2 members of the Tracksuit Mafia come in and they're like, I would like to, enter my baby. And it's like a grown man. And then they're like, no. And then I was kind of like, is this superhero going to come in and stop them? Like, what's happening right now?
That's awesome.
But yeah, that was really cool. But like during the baby race, the character of Shang-Chi was just there. Like he was just watching the baby race too and clapping along with the people. And I was watching from deck 4 or 5, like looking down at it. And I was like telling my friend, I was like, is that Shang-Chi? Is he just there watching? Like everyone was so focused on the baby race, they didn't notice that there's a character meet and greet right behind them.
Right there.
Yeah, and then eventually, 2 kids did notice he was there, and then they took pictures of him. But yeah, no, that was just like really, really cool to see. And the fact that he also was clapping at the end too.
Yeah, that's amazing. All right, now you said you had a break for Apollo brunch. I imagine you had to go back and like change. Did you? So you have like multiple outfit changes this day. It sounds like.
Yeah, so that was the morning was like Deadpool, and then we had to go change for Apollo, and then we went. Actually, what's really weird is when we were at Apollo, I saw someone with like a Disneyland Black Panther spirit jersey looking thing, and I was like, oh, could we have not? I was like, I dressed up for this. Like I thought, I don't know what was going on, but anyway, yeah. So we had to run to our room, change, and then we went to Apollo brunch, and then after Apollo brunch, my friend was like, you want to just go to like, the next event already? Because, there's so much to do. I was like, yeah, but I don't really want to walk around in these shoes because wear nicer shoes too. I want to be comfortable. So then we went back to the room, changed again to get more comfortable. And then we saw, the Doctor Strange magic show. Well, not really magic show, but like a Doctor Strange show, which was really, really cool. It was in the Walt Disney Theater.
I was going to ask if they did it in the theater. Yeah. So it was some kind of like demonstration show thing with Doctor Strange. Were there other characters a part of it? And was it like interactive with the audience?
Yeah. So it was like the story of it was like, it's like the Camartage graduation of like new sorcerers or whatever. And then, then these like 4 kids, quotation marks, basically, who are graduating, have to learn to become heroes and all that stuff. And then
fun.
At one point, like there's a villain and then they have to stop the villain, but it wasn't really a villain, but I don't want to really spoil it. But yeah, that's basically what happened. And it was really cool. And the effects were really, really cool.
Oh, that sounds awesome. And I take it, did they just pluck some kids out of the audience right there, or did it seem like they had picked them ahead of time or something?
Oh no, so like the kids, quotation marks, were actors. So like they're actually
okay.
No, they were supposed to be like
cast.
Yeah, they're part of the cast. They were supposed to, they were supposed to fight the villain that shows up.
Okay, awesome. Love that. What was the next thing you guys got up to?
So that one is after that is when we did the Marvel super fan face off.
Oh yeah, this is the big trivia. This is like it's a game show. It's not a regular trivia, but it's like a game show, and it is like super hardcore. Yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah, it was very super hardcore. Yeah. So like the first round is like they give you like letters, so it's multiple choice, and you just have to raise up the letter. You only get one chance, by the way. So if you get it wrong once, you're out. So I was doing really, really well, like for a while. And then there was a comic book question about the first Spider-Man title. And I don't know why I like fumbled the ball in it, because I knew 2 of them were not it, and then one of them was like one of those throwaway answers that they give, throwaway wrong answers that they give. But I still I don't know, I made a mistake, and I was like, oh man, I fumbled the ball in this, and ended up out on first round. And then the second round was like whiteboards, and then the third round was basically when they whittled it down to 2 people. You have to just name a bunch of characters, as many characters as they can within a limited amount of time. And I definitely would not have won, because the guy that won he was really, really good.
Yeah. Was it where they were showing him like a picture of the characters and he had to name the characters, or was he just having to name as many as he knew?
Yeah. So they just like flashed the picture of the character.
Yeah.
And then he had to just name them as they were going and see how many he could do within a certain amount of time. And there was also like comic book characters too. So it was that was a tough one.
Oh yeah. We've seen them do that on non-Marvel Day at Sea cruises occasionally when but what they'll do is they'll sort of whittle people down from the prior Marvel trivias and bring those people to do that kind of head-to-head Marvel competition. And but even just the regular Marvel trivias from my perspective are super, super hardcore. Like a lot of the trivias on board, let's be honest, at Disney Cruise, they are hardcore, and the people who know the answers are they know like everything. It's kind of incredible.
The guy who won the Superfan Face-Off, we also did Marvel trivia later on that day, and then he was there too. And I was like, I guess we lost. I guess we're not.
Yeah, you're like, no chance. This guy is, this guy's the expert. Yeah, of course. And he's probably like not just a fan of the movies, but obviously big into the comic books. What was the next, or what were the other events that you guys got to go to on Marvel Day at Sea?
Yeah. Actually, my favorite one was like this like costume event with a surprise at the end. And like, so basically they had like this little costume show where like everyone that was dressed up, they grouped them by either character. So obviously if there's like a lot of Spider-Mans, then they're just gonna have one group of Spider-Mans.
Yeah.
If not, then they're gonna like group them by the Guardians, group them by Lokis, basically like that. So then they did that, and then at the end, and then they did one group picture at the end. And this is I guess where got really, really cool, because so then they had like everyone leave, and then they brought up a bunch of kids who are dressed up. They were like, we have to celebrate the heroes of tomorrow, all that stuff. And then surprise, Mickey and his friends come out in their Marvel Day at Sea outfits. And it was also a goal of mine for this cruise to get a picture with Captain America Mickey, because it was, when I've seen pictures of it, I was like, I have to get a picture with him with that, because it's really cute.
Yeah.
But,
it's so he's got like a Captain America t-shirt, right? And like a vest.
Yeah, he's got a Captain America shirt, and he also has a Captain America hat. And I was like, I think it has like the A on the hat or something like that. Yeah, but I was like, I have to get a picture with him. So they come out, they go down, the atrium, into the atrium, take a picture with all the kids. They stand behind the kids, so they get one big group picture. And then they do a meet and greet with this, whoever wants to be there. And where we were standing, we were watching it from deck 4. So where we were standing, we were basically right next to where the line started for Mickey and Minnie.
Ooh.
And I was like, we're here. Might as well.
Later.
So yeah, that was really, really cool to be able to get a picture with Mickey and Minnie in their Marvel Day at Sea outfits.
Yeah. And you have to, I will say, like, if those characters are on your list, right, like those specific costumes are on your list of things you want to sort of check off, like, take the opportunity when it presents itself, because they don't come out throughout the entire cruise, in those outfits. They might come out more than once, but there's no guarantee. Sometimes even if they're scheduled to come out more than once, things can happen. People can get sick, and, that things can get canceled. And so if that's on your list of things, like, take that opportunity right when it comes out. Well, of course, you had one other character meet and greet, which was, what was the last one that you had said?
It was the Asgardians. So we actually didn't have that on this day. It got moved to, we moved it to our second sea day, which was really, really good for us. And then for that one, I believe it's either Thor, Mighty Thor, so Jane Foster Thor, or Loki. And then we ended up with both Thors. And that was really, really cool.
Oh, very that's cool. So fun. Yeah. Thor and Mrs. Thor, basically.
Wait, did you say which Captain America was on board?
I guess I could say both. Both Captain Americas were on board, yeah. So Sam Wilson Captain America was on board. And then another thing that we did was the USO show, because that was another thing that I've heard you have to do. And then that one had, I almost said Chris Evans Captain America, but Steve Rogers Captain America.
Rogers, yeah. Love that. And then you also had the deck party. So the USO show, I'm assuming did they do that in D Lounge, or did they do that on the Walt Disney stage?
They did that in Evolution, so it was a really small space.
Yeah, and super crowded, I imagine. Yeah. Tell us, you obviously went to the deck party. What did you think of the Heroes Unite deck party?
Yeah, so there's actually 2 deck parties. It's like Marvel, or it's like Pirate Night kind of. So they had the Mickey and Friends one first without the fireworks. And then they had the Heroes Unite one, the Mickey and Friends one. It was just, them in their costumes. And then the same thing. They were like doing different dances.
Parties. Yeah.
And then, but I will say, like all of them posing with Avengers music playing in the background was just like I had to get that. But yeah,
I love it.
And then I do want to add that before Heroes Unite and before dinner, there was like just a character blitz happening in the atrium before we went to dinner. Like there was, it was like there was just characters everywhere, like literally everywhere. Like everywhere you turn, there was a character. I was like, what is going on right now? I'm like, what is happening? But anyway, yeah. And then after dinner was Heroes Unite, and same thing. I was like, I have to go get a good spot for Heroes Unite. And then when we got there, we also like made friends with our table mates, so they actually got up there first, and they were like, I was not expecting there to be this many people, because we got up there 30 to 45 minutes before the show started, and it was packed. Like we were on deck 12, and it was really, really hard to get a spot. And because like how I watched vlogs and stuff, I knew it was a good spot to be on the port side. I know they shoot off the fireworks on the starboard side, but they like incorporate the fireworks into the show so well, which was really, really cool. But yeah, no, Heroes Unite was just, it felt like I was in a Marvel movie. Like it felt like I was, it basically felt like I was in a Marvel movie. I don't really want to spoil the story, but basically it is a multiverse story. So I don't really want
we haven't seen it ourselves, but we have heard we've heard tidbits about it. And I will say I have actually refrained from watching it on YouTube, because I know there are people who have posted videos of it on YouTube. And I've refrained because I'm hoping that someday we're going to get on a ship that either has the deck party or is a Marvel Day at Sea sailing that has the deck, So I'm still hoping, I'm still crossing my fingers that the Destiny is going to have the Heroes Unite deck party, either in addition to, or probably not instead of Pirate Night, but I'm hoping in addition to Pirate Night, because I really, 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 really want to see it. And on the schedule right now, I think we had looked, I don't think there are any Marvel Day at Sea cruises announced for 2026 as of now. If I'm remembering correctly, Brian, you probably remember better than I do.
I don't think so, but maybe while you're talking here, I'll tool over to the cruise line website and just see what's happening.
Yeah, I think
they've announced them yet.
Yeah, I think when they did the release through summer of 2026, there wasn't anything on there that was labeled a Marvel Day at Sea. That doesn't mean they won't add it later.
They all tend to happen at the same time of year. They all tend to happen on the shorter cruises as a way to get people like all in on going out of like Fort Lauderdale, off-season cruising, that sort of stuff.
January, February, March. It's kind of the same as what they have done for Pixar Day at Sea on the Fantasy, right? They've done Marvel Day at Sea on either the Dream or on the Magic. Yeah. Well,
but they usually do wait to designate them. So but I'll take a quick gander.
Yeah. Now, Kyle, one thing I have heard that's really nice about, at least used to be nice about Marvel Day at Sea, was you got a paper navigator that looked like a comic book. And I know now, obviously, Disney's using the app. Was there any literature in your stateroom that looked like any kind of, comic book type of a thing?
So no, they didn't really have that, but they did like the the dinner menu was like a comic book. So that was cool. And they also put like put that Marvel Day at Sea like sticker thing on like the veranda door. And that was really, really cool. And they also let you take it home, which I did not know. So yeah, that's in my room.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay. So it's like one of those window cling things, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like, it looks like a sticker, but it's a kind of a plastic window cling. And they have those sometimes. If you buy one of the room decoration packages, you might get a window cling like a birthday package or one of the holiday packages. Sometimes it includes, not always, it just depends which package, but sometimes it includes a cling. All right. Well, Kyle, sounds like Marvel Day at Sea was awesome. It's just hearing about it as we have a couple of other times with other guests makes me want to do one, as particularly as someone who is I would say a decent Marvel fan. I wouldn't call myself I'm not a deep dive Marvel fan because I haven't watched all of the TV shows, but I am a bigger fan of the movies than I would say some of the, your average Disney people. But I'd love to know what kinds of other activities you guys enjoyed outside of Marvel Day at Sea. I got to hear, did you go to the shows?
Yes. So, since it was, our first cruise, I was like, we had to go see all the shows. So like the first one was Golden Mickey's, and then there was like the Marvel and the Pirate Night, and then second show was Beauty and the Beast. And then the last one was Believe. And for Beauty and the Beast, because of everything that I've heard about, I was like, I have to go see Beauty and the Beast. Like, that is a must.
It's a must.
Yeah, we saw Beauty and the Beast. I will say I did like Believe because our genie was just hilarious. Like, he was like, gut-wrenching hilarious. Like, but the only problem with Believe was there were 2 technical difficulties that happened during it. So a 1-hour show turned into like an hour and a half. And because I was also the last night, I needed a pack. So it was like, there was a lot of like craziness, but I still wanted to see the whole thing.
Yeah, no, it's cute. It's cute. Listen, I don't judge people who like those shows, who like Believe or Dreams. I only judge them if they like those shows more than Beauty and the Beast or Frozen or Moana, right? So, so no judgment for enjoying those shows. They are good. They're very well done. And I've said this time and time again, if you have Aladdin or if you have Believe, it is so dependent upon how good the genie is. If you have a really good genie, you're going to have a really good show. All right. What about some other activities on board? And then we got to talk a little bit about food at least.
Yeah. So I would say we went to Evolution after dinner almost every night. Like almost every night. So like after the Marvel Day at Sea deck show, there was like a Ravagers dance party that happened Evolution that was 18 plus.
Fun.
So that was really cool with like Star-Lord. The first night was they played Majority Rules, and then they also did Match Your Mate, which was another thing. I was like, okay, I've heard about that. I gotta go watch it because it's hilarious. I think with Majority Rules, because like everyone, like, how it works, right? Like, it's whatever the majority says. And because I think there was one of the questions was like, who does one of the crew members like look like, their celebrity look alike? And my immediate was like, oh, Olivia Rodrigo. She looks immediate like Olivia Rodrigo. But then my friend was like, dude, look around. I don't think anyone else here is going to say Olivia Rodrigo.
We're all a little old.
And I was like, yeah, okay, you're right. I don't know what I was thinking.
That's hilarious. That's really funny. Yeah, you have to look at for Majority Rules, you got to look at the demographic who's in the room. And if it skews older, they're probably not going to even, I know who Olivia Rodrigo is, but I bet you Brian doesn't. So yeah, he's shaking his head. He doesn't know. I know, but you know why? I know her.
Don't know actors by their names.
I know. Well, she's she's an actress and pop singer too. She's actually more popular now for her music career. But as an actress, I know her from High School Musical, the series, which was on Disney Plus. And Brian's
that just sounds like something I'd definitely be watching in my spare time.
Yeah. So that's why Brian doesn't know who she is, and that's why I know her from that more than which was, by the way, not a very good TV show, but I did watch it because I liked the.
You're really selling it now. So,
yeah, no, it's not. It's not a good TV show, but I liked High School Musical, so I was like, I got to at least give the TV show a chance. That's really funny though, Kyle. Definitely those adult activities are really fun to do if you can make them, either because you're somebody who's willing to stay up later or because you're not sailing with kids or some combination thereof. Would love to know what your thoughts were about food, because obviously this is your first time on board a Disney cruise. So everything is new when it comes to food. What did you think of the quality of main dining and, of course, cabanas? And then, of course, we'll talk Palo in a second.
Yeah, so like Cabana's food was really, really good, especially those Mickey churro waffles. Like on that last day, I was like, oh, wait, it's the last day. And then my friend was like, don't, remind me. I know it's the last day. And I was like, no, it's the last day. I'm pretty sure they should have churro Mickey waffles out. And at this point, I've already grabbed like a regular waffle. And I was like, I don't know if I want this if the churro Mickey waffles are out. And they were. And I had a lot of them. They're really, really good.
They are really good. It's good. It's good to compare though, right? I mean, you can have them side by side and like taste the difference. And then you can like eat, you just eat one ear of the regular and then you just eat the whole thing of the churro waffle so you can taste, you have to do compare and contrast. What about main dining? What'd you think about the food quality there?
Yeah, the food was really, really good. Like, we always like to say in my family that like there's a Disney standard when it comes to food. And yeah, it was really, really good, especially at Royal Palace. The deep fried brie, I was like, this has got to be like one of the best appetizers that I probably ever had at like Disney property before.
That whole menu is I think the best menu with the Chateaubriand and the escargot. I think that Royal Court, Royal Palace, Lumiere, Triton, it's all the same. That menu, the night one or rotation one menu in that restaurant is, I think, the best on the classic ships as far as menus goes. Yeah. Any other highlights from the food or the experience in dining? I mean, you had obviously Animator's Palette, which I'm sure was fun. I'm guessing you had the Crush show. Am I right?
Yeah, so it was Crush. We went to Animators twice. So once was Pirate Night, and then the second was the regular show with Crush. And that was really, really cool. We weren't near a TV, so we really didn't interact with Crush. And the show was kind of just like a side thing. I will say our like dining team was really, really good. Like I don't know if he just like was like, these guys are young adults. They just want to go out and enjoy the ship. Like, he was really, 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 really quick with our food and like taking our orders and just getting our stuff, which was really, really cool of him.
That's nice. That's always a good thing when that happens. Now, you mentioned you got seated with you made some new friends on board. Is that right?
Yeah. So, we knew that was a possibility since we were a group of two, but, at first we were like, oh, no, we're going to be with random people. But then by the end of the cruise, we actually hung out with them a lot. And then we have a group chat. So, I don't know how Disney does it because, like, we're mid-20s, they were mid-20s. One of them was also their first cruise too. So it was like, I don't know how they do it, but it was really, really cool how we ended up with them.
Yeah. I think they must have an algorithm that tries to pair up people who have similar, demographic characteristics like age, gender, and then sort of if it's like friends or couples or, multi-generational families, right? Like I feel like now it's not perfect. It doesn't always happen, but I do think oftentimes if you're like a mother-daughter combination, they usually try and seat you with other mother-daughter combinations or at least other single parent child combinations. So like that, I think generally they do a good job at that. Now, the other thing about food you got to experience was Apollo brunch, right? Tell us what you thought. I know, obviously, it interrupted your Marvel day, so that was the one negative about Apollo brunch. But tell us, what did you think of the food quality and the food offerings in Apollo? We always try and tell people like, Apollo is fantastic. It is not necessarily a must-do for your first cruise, but it is like a must-do at some point in your cruising career, I'll say. What did you and your friend think of Apollo?
Yeah, Apollo was amazing. It was everything everyone talks about. And I was like joking how like, there's only two of us, but I do kind of want to try everything because, everyone talks about Apollo and how good it is. And then I think you guys like recommend not trying the breakfast stuff, but I was like, I want to try everything. So I got a little bit of everything. The things we tried was like one of my favorite, like the favorite things that I tried, like the almond croissant was really, really good. But we also like to joke that I think that was like probably where we went wrong because that was one of the first things we ate and then it, kind of killed us for the rest of the meal. The eggs Benedict was like surprisingly really good. Like they cooked the egg perfectly and like, I don't know how they do it, but the English muffin was not like soggy at all. Like it was still like perfect. And then same thing with the pizza crust too. And then, of course, the chicken parm, which was really, really good. But yeah.
Nice.
I love that chicken parm. I will go to the ends of the earth for that chicken parm. And I've had lots of chicken parms and I've had many really good ones. And but the Disney Cruise Line one in Apollo is definitely in that top grouping. I'm not sure I could say it's number one because I've had so many really good ones like in New York. But it is like definitely in that top tier of chicken parms in my world, at least.
Yeah.
Well, sounds like an amazing cruise.
Yes, it was everything that I dreamed about. Yeah, basically. Like I kept making that joke that it was everything I dreamed about, but it was.
Well, I think we have reached that point in the show, Sam, where it's time for a little rapid fire. What do you think?
I think it's the perfect time for rapid fire. I mean, I think any time is the perfect time for rapid fire, to be perfectly
I'm a living
honest.
example of that. Yeah. So, Kyle, before I hand you off to Sam, though, is there anything that we missed that you want to be sure to cover with our audience about your cruise?
I don't think so. Oh, there's one more thing that I'll add. The towel animal on Marvel Day was actually Mjolnir. Like Thor's hammer.
Thor's hammer, yeah.
Yeah. So I was expecting an animal, right? Going into the room. And I was like, what is this? And then my friend was like, it's Thor's hammer. And I was like, how did they do it? But it was really, really cool.
That's amazing. I would take that thing and go around with it. Like that would be that would be ridiculous, but I would totally do that. Yeah. I love that. That's awesome.
Well, Kyle, we can wait no longer. It is that time in our show where I need to hand you back to Sam for some arbitrary questions, some arbitrary rules, and a dash of judgment of the round we know as rapid fire. So, Sam, take it away.
All right, Kyle, I'm going to ask you some Disney favorites and some Disney Cruise Line favorites. Obviously, your favorite ship is now the Disney Dream, so we'll just skip that one entirely. But let's start. Who is your favorite Disney character?
So my favorite Disney character is probably going to have to be Stitch. I love Lilo and Stitch. So
nice. So I bet you're going to enjoy the new movie. All right, what's your favorite Disney movie?
So my favorite Disney movie, that's going to be like a little bit of a deep cut, but it's going to be Leroy and Stitch. Like it's a movie that came out only on DVD, like in the 2000s, but it was just a really cool, like it's like the culmination of like the TV show. So they had like all the cousins there. It was it's a really cool movie. If you haven't seen it, I recommend go seeing it.
Okay, I haven't seen it, but I'm going to have to find it on Disney Plus. Is it on Disney Plus?
I honestly have no idea if it's on Disney Plus.
Okay, well, I'm going to look for Leroy and Stitch. I love it. All right, favorite Disney song?
Favorite Disney song is not going to be from Lilo and Stitch. It's going to have to be Go the Distance from Hercules.
Yes, such a good song. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, you're going to need to get on either the Treasure or the Wish or the Destiny because Go the Distance is in the Seize the Adventure show. So yeah, it's a really great, and it's a really, Hercules just singing. Okay. Favorite Disney Cruise Line stage show. It's obviously got to be one of the three that were on the Disney Dream. The deck parties don't count. We're talking about Walt Disney Theater shows. Tell us which one was your favorite.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be Beauty and the Beast.
All right. There you go. You just checked that box right off. Love it. Okay. What was your favorite onboard activity?
Definitely trivias. I think, definitely trivia. We did so many trivias.
Awesome. What was your favorite rotational dining?
I'm going to have to go with Royal Palace for that one.
Yeah, the food is so good. All right. Favorite space to relax on the ship? Sounds like you didn't do too much relaxing, to be perfectly honest, though.
I'm going to have to go with like in the adult area where like the hot tubs are. We use those hot tubs pretty frequently. So, yeah.
Quiet Cove, love it. All right. Now, I already got your favorite ship is the Disney Dream, but my last question of rapid fire is bucket list cruise, Kyle. If you could go on any place in the world on a Disney cruise, it doesn't even have to be some place that Disney Cruise Line currently goes to, where would you go?
So I'm going to have to go with like the generic answer of a cruise that can take me to every single park in the world.
I love it. Listen, that's always a great answer. I will be on that cruise with you, Kyle. If they ever do that, I think that would be amazing. Thank you for playing. You have passed with flying colors. Really, you clinched it with Beauty and the Beast. So, I'm very predictable in that way. But yeah, thank you so much, Kyle. I know Brian's going to want to ask you his favorite question.
Yeah, Kyle, what is next?
Yeah, so I actually was able to convince my family to go on a cruise.
I was wondering if that was going to be it. I was hoping that was going to be the answer, Kyle. I love that.
Yeah, so next year we're actually booked to go on the Disney Destiny in January. So brand new ship. And of course the Marvel ship.
And the Marvel ship. And you're going to have, not only going to have like all the Marvel stuff, but you're also going to be able to experience Worlds of Marvel with, the dinner show. Oh my God. Obviously we haven't been on the Destiny yet. We will be starting over right before Thanksgiving for the maiden voyage. But I think this is going to be your ship. It sounds like the Marvel Day at Sea was perfect, and I think the Destiny is going to be your ship. And we already know Haunted Mansion is just a winner on all fronts, so you're going to get to see the Haunted Mansion parlor as well. But Kyle, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate folks like you reaching out to us and being willing to come on to share their experiences. As we've said, like without our wonderful guests, it would just be us two weirdos with mics talking about Disney cruising, which probably wouldn't be as interesting as the show that I think we have now created. And we especially love talking to first-time cruisers. It's always really fun because we get to relive the experience of getting on board a Disney Cruise Line ship for the very first time. And we hope that you'll come back and see us. I do want to point out you have your own you are a content creator yourself. You said you're kind of just starting out with YouTube and with Instagram. Why don't you share with folks if they want to follow you and your adventures at Disney and wherever else you may go, where they can follow you?
Yeah, so Instagram and YouTube, it's just KCal Vibes, so KCAL Vibes on all social medias.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Kyle.
Wait, before you do the final wrap-up, Sam, I just want to say it's been a while since we've done one of these first-time cruiser episodes, and so I do want to put the call out to our community and the folks listening out there preparing for their first Disney cruise. We love, love, love talking to first-time cruisers, and we also just love having folks on who've listened to the show for a little while now and just want to contribute some, knowledge back into the community. So please, please, please reach out. You can email us dclduo@gmail.com. That's dclduo@gmail.com. And if you want to skip all the pleasantries back and forth, if you just put in the subject line, I want to talk with the duo, ! That's I want to talk with the duo, ! Duo capitalized. You will immediately get some instructions on how you can set up some time with us. And we will take a look at your submissions and, go from there and get some time scheduled with you. So yeah, anyway, reach out to us. We'd love to have you on. With that, Kyle, I will reiterate what Sam was getting ready to say, which is we super appreciate you being on the show, taking some time out of your day to share your experiences with our audience out there. Thank you so very much and hope to have you back in the future.
Thank you guys also.
Well, thanks to everyone out there for listening this week. We really, really appreciate it. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you can keep getting great content from us every week. In fact, twice a week we publish shows. So be sure to hit the subscribe button to get all of those great episodes. And if you want to watch us live, we have a live show now every week, Monday nights, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern over on youtube.com/DCL Duo. So be sure to head over and check that out. If you want to help support the show, be sure to hit those 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And if you leave us a written review, a 5-star written review, we will read it at the top of one of our main episodes. So please head over there and hit those 5 stars. Of course, you can also help support the show by supporting our fabulous show sponsor, My Path Unwinding Travel. If you want to book your next Disney vacation, head over to mypathunwinding.com/DCL Duo or email them at dclduo@mypathunwinding.com so they know we sent you their way. If you've got questions or you'd like to connect with us, the best way to do that is to head over to dclduo.com. It's got links to all of our things, full catalog of the podcast episodes, including a searchable catalog for the podcast, links off to our vlog, a link to our Etsy store where we sell some fun fan-inspired magnets, link to our Patreon if you'd like to help directly support the show each and every month. Just head over to the website or patreon.com/DCLDuo. Also has a way for you to sign up for our Substack newsletter that we're hoping to start really pumping out monthly here at least, and a few blog articles that we've written. So DCLDuo.com is the best way to connect with us. You can also, of course, email us at info@DCLDuo.com or reach out to us on our voicemail line at 402-413-5590. That's 402-413-5590. The DCL Duo Podcast is not affiliated with Disney Cruise Line, the Disney Company, or the Disney family of theme parks. The views expressed on the show are solely those of the individuals on the podcast and in no way reflect the views of the Disney Company or Disney Cruise Line. If you have questions about a Disney cruise or a Disney vacation, please contact the great folks over at My Path Unwinding Travel or Disney directly or your own travel agent. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time for another fabulous adventure with the DCL Duo. Good night.